Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Crew First Culture Podcast. My name is Jeremy, and as always, I want to thank you very much for spending some time here with me today, and actually us today. Happy to have a guest on finally. It's been a while, but with me today, I have Aaron Quinn of Oakland FD, and as with all good relationships, we met online nowadays. It seems like that's kind of where you're forced to meet people. We're kind of stuck inside and all that. So without going for much further, I'll let Aaron kind of introduce himself and give a little bio, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, my name's Aaron Quinn. I've been a firefighter in Oakland for 18 years. I actually grew up in Oakland, so it's kind of nice to work in the city that you grew up in. My dad was a firefighter here in Oakland too, so I grew up in that whole generation, being a kid, watching my dad be a firefighter in the same city. So it's been about 18 years I've been a firefighter here. In addition, in 2007, I got asked to take over the head of physical training for all new recruits. So since 2007, every single firefighter that's hired in Oakland has come through my physical training program in our tower. And our tower is roughly about 20 to 25 weeks, depending on what they're teaching them. And I get them for about 5 to 7 hours a week, about an hour and a half every morning. And we go through everything from fitness to mental health to mental performance. And that's been kind of, for the last 13 years, kind of my little extra passion project to try to help our fire department grow and get better. And about 5 years ago, I became the senior firefighter on my crew, which in Oakland is a little unique. Our senior firefighter is kind of looked at as almost on the same level as an officer. We don't have promoted positions for the truck driver and tiller. Those are all done by firefighters. So the firefighter at a double house, or my double house, we spend 1 month driving the truck, 1 month tillering, 1 month bird dog, which is kind of a catch-all position, focused mostly on rescue and search, but it also catches a lot of the other things in the fire ground that kind of fall through the cracks. And then 1 month on the engine. So that's kind of a short little bio on me. And yeah.
That's awesome. So,
Yep.
13 years basically you've been helping recruits. So do
Yep.
you have any idea of kind of how many people you've really kind of helped along? Have you kept track of that?
I'm not going to track of the actual number. The other day, me and a couple of my buddies of mine were trying to figure it out. I think an easy estimate is somewhere between 100 to 150 people in our department, possibly more. It's 13 years. We have a large, like most, I don't know how most departments are, but we went through a huge hiring frenzy in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of new people. So it might be as high as 175, maybe.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
that's something, that's kind of a fun thing just to sit back and think about. Not that it's something to brag about, but it's really cool to think that you've touched that many lives and helped that many people into the fire service. That's cool.
Yeah, we have
So
about
go ahead.
we have about 450 members total. So it's about a quarter to a third of the department.
Yeah, that's that's a pretty good percentage of what you got there. So what is just an average hiring group, I guess is what you would say? How many do you usually have run through?
Well, we're kind of, we range from, I would say, 12 at the low end to as many as 35 at the high end. And some of that depends on how long and what kind of class. If you're doing a lateral medic class, it's much shorter and usually less people. And if you're hiring like maybe third off the list, like third class off a list, it tends to be a smaller class. Usually the first class off a list, and we haven't hired in a while, and it's going to be a bigger 35 people class, and that's big for us. We don't have a facility that can really manage much more than that.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, it's always interesting to me to hear of different people from different departments, and you're throwing out tiller terms and bird dog, and stuff that my department, we have one tower truck, and probably lucky to have that. We've got a couple Quints that are probably getting phased out, but just smaller departments, we don't have the opportunity to play with as cool of toys as the bigger places. And so it's cool to kind of to talk to people from the bigger places. So you and I've talked a little bit, not a ton, kind of behind the
Yeah.
scenes, getting set up for this.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know that something it's always interesting, and always interesting topic to me, but especially kind of right now, just where I'm at, is that informal leader, senior firefighter type role. And like you stated, your department kind of really, if we're comparing my department and I keep saying a department, it's drastically different. So just a little bit about my department. We don't have anything formal, as far as any kind of career development, promotional, anything. Everything is basically informal, and kind of whatever you want to do at your station. So for me to hear, and then something else from my background, anybody that doesn't know, I'm a captain. So basically I'm a station officer. I have a crew, I have a station that I'm responsible for. And that being said, why I'm saying that is I cannot express enough the importance that a good informal leader, or several informal leaders, has on me. The load that they take off of an officer, and it's just amazing how much a good informal leader can help their officer. And so that is really kind of why I want to dig into this topic, and want to hear from somebody like you that has a good, basically that's a big part of your department. And
Yeah.
so hang on a second, I've got some issues going on. Sorry, I lost you. Okay. And so that's kind of what I want to hear about, is how you feel about the process of what you guys do, if you like it, if how you feel it affects your department, and just kind of go from there, because I want to learn how to be more of that mindset of that informal leader runs a lot more, because I feel like that's how it should be. So give me an idea of how you feel your department treats it, and what you think about the process.
Yeah. So, we have much, I don't know, our department's older, and it's more traditional than some other departments. So kind of the senior firefighter, something that evolved over the years to kind of become, like you said, the informal leader of a crew. And when I first started, my very first day, I sat down with the captain of the shift. We have captains and lieutenants, and it was a double house, and the captain was a two-tour Vietnam Special Forces vet, and just grizzly and gnarly. And he gives me his expectations, and he turns to me and says, "Now you're not going to learn from me how to be a firefighter. You're going to learn from Billy, who is the senior guy. He's like, this is the guy who teach you how to do everything. Stick to him like glue." And that was kind of how it was told to me. He kind of just passed me off to Billy. And we don't have a lot of formal training and leadership development, kind of similar to your department. We don't give our people all the officer classes. People do that on their own. So it is kind of done shift by shift and house by house, but the tradition of what a senior firefighter is or does is deeply rooted in our department. So you grow up, so to speak, in the department, seeing the just this pride that the senior firefighter takes in the department, and the pride they take in teaching. And that's kind of how I grew up, and it's kind of how I learned what a senior firefighter is. So I think for me, the major component is how do you take what you wish you had learned, or where you wish your department's going, and what you did learn and teach that to the next generation.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's kind of something that I've talked on in an episode a little while back. Is probably about 6 to 8 months ago, I had kind of a mind shift, and it really revolved around getting a new guy on my crew. Before that, I was only a captain for probably about a year and a half. And so, at this moment, I'm still got a lot to learn. But at that point, I was just kind of on cruise control, just trying to find my way. I wanted to do good things. I wanted to be a part of a crew that was ready to do what we needed to do and all that. Well, once I got this new guy, it really was like a punch in the face to say, man, you are now responsible for bringing up this, for lack of better terms, this kid, and teach him how to be a firefighter. And I get exactly what you're saying. And that's, your captain basically told you that's this guy's job, the senior firefighter. But really, I mean, ultimately, I'm responsible for the overall picture of that. And that was really eye-opening to me, because I've, I was involved in training. I enjoyed training. I feel like I took a good attitude into training, but I don't feel like I was approaching it with the mindset of I've got to absorb this to the point where I can teach it to somebody else tomorrow. I've got to teach it to this new guy, or I've got whatever else. And just that mindset shift of going from being involved in training to really soaking it up to the point of passing it on to the next generation. That was huge to me. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, of trying to get my guys, my crew into, yeah, we're involved in all this stuff, and we have great attitudes when we're doing it, but are we sucking it up to the point that we can pass it on to the next person, and kind of keep that going and start tradition and all that. And that's really where I am headed, is just trying to figure out how to do that. How do you have any kind of ideas of, if you're talking to somebody that doesn't have that kind of tradition maybe set up, kind of how to start, where would you go to get it going?
That's a good question. I think the first thing is if I'm looking at a new person and trying to explain to him, a new firefighter that's come to my crew, and I try to explain to him, this is a long-term career. It's a marathon. So you look at me and try to emulate me. I have 18 years riding the truck. You can't cut a hole like me. You can't walk on a roof like me. You don't have that experience. All you need to focus on is being really good at where you are right now. So the first thing is taking some of the onus, so they don't get too overwhelmed. And The next thing is making sure that they understand that they're an important piece of this wheel too. Empowering them and saying, you are an important piece. And I tell them all the time, me talking to a probationary firefighter is eons ago for me. So I can't relate to what they've been through. You're going to be able to teach them and connect to them in a more potent way than I can on some things. So I'm going to be asking you to step up right away for certain things, because you're going to be better at it than me. Yeah. And so it's acknowledging the fact that even though I might be seen as the informal leader, I'm acknowledging that, I don't have all the answers, and I'm not the best person always. Right. So right away, I'm empowering, and I'm also demanding a certain level of responsibility to these individuals. And I think when an individual feels responsible for the progress of a crew and the progress of somebody else, they're going to step up to the plate more. They're going to realize the magnitude of what's going on. So that's probably my first step that I take with a new firefighter.
And that's exactly kind of where I'm at personally. I feel like everybody has something to give, even though like back 6, 8 months ago, like I said, we got that new firefighter, but he just got done with a 25 week recruit academy, which was put on by some great instructors. And I know he was fresher in way more things than I was. As like you said, I'm on 18 years as well, and I'm
Right.
a captain, so I don't do a lot of the hands-on stuff. So there's probably an infinite amount of information that he could be passing on to us and to me, because he's just straight out of that. And then there's some balance there, because you got a person that's brand new. So yeah, you gotta keep quiet, and you gotta absorb more than, you gotta listen more than you're talking, kind of like everybody says. But at the same time, just like you said, I want that person to start stepping up right away. I want them to start learning how to become a leader right away, because you are a leader. You're looked at in the public no different than they're looking at me being on 18 years, and you got 2 days on shift. It doesn't matter to them.
Right.
The kids that we're seeing in grocery stores think you're just as much of a superhero as a 35-year guy that's seen it all, done it all. And so, that's a big responsibility. And I love, you brought up empowerment, and that's a huge word to me. And I think almost to a fault with me, I think maybe I may sometimes take that a little too far by trying to push too much on people, and maybe I don't know. I try to, like, when I'm at the station, when we're at the station, that's basically my time to let my crew work on their leadership, work on their uh, just running things. I don't try to put my hands in too much around station, because I trust that they will do the good things they're supposed to, and that's just something I use that for. And so, there's a balance there. But yeah, I love the word empowerment. Just staying away from micromanagement and focusing on empowerment, for
Yeah, some of
sure.
that's difference too between being an officer and being a firefighter, or being, maybe a deputy or battalion chief, depending on what levels you have. I kind of look at those different positions as, different aspects of leadership. Not saying that everyone can't empower all these aspects, but when you're looking at a company officer, to me, they're really the heart of the leadership. They're kind of in the middle, and they're the ones that need to really talk about the passion and the love for the job. As the heart does, speaks to passion and love, and from the administrative standpoint above, they're kind of the brains of the leadership. And again, not saying that the officer doesn't incorporate all this, or the firefighter doesn't incorporate all this, but on a pulled back, more generalized, bigger picture, you need your admin to be the brain. They're the ones setting out the mission and their overall goals. And then the firefighter, the informal leader, they're the backbone. They're the ones that get it done. They're the ones when the officer says, "Hey, we're gonna paint the firehouse," and if the guys start to groan, you say, "Shut the fuck up. I'm right. I'm doing it with you." That's what we do. And
Yeah.
that's the backbone, and that's the thing the officer can't do. And so I think to your point earlier, you have to have all forms of that leadership. Because there's certain things that I can say and I can do um, that the officers can't, and vice
Yeah.
versa, right? And so I think that's the important piece, and that's an important piece even for a new person. Like I said, like back to what I said earlier, it's you have a vital role in this, and once I think someone understands that even though you're new, you still have a vital role in this whole thing. That
Yeah.
changes their view, because sometimes you come in, you're new, like you said, the old paradigm of shut up, don't say anything, keep your head down,
Yeah.
just work, don't ask questions, you'll learn at some point type of attitude. It can shut certain people down,
Oh
and
yeah.
it makes you feel like you have nothing to offer, right?
Yeah.
And you're just looking at these guys and you're idolizing them. You're like, oh fuck, man, I want to be like them, um, but you feel like you're worthless, right?
Yeah.
And if you can make somebody understand they're not, still, you're still a new kid, you still got, like I said, got to understand that aspect
Still
of
got
it.
dues to pay, but
Right.
you have something to offer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting at is I really think that, back when I came on, and I'm sure it's probably, our timelines are similar, 18 years. So
Mm-hmm.
probably we're kind of in the same, what we experienced. But when I came on, that was the mindset that I had coming towards me. I was a grape that needed to be squashed and turned into fine wine, basically, is what I was told. And we were paid from the neck down, and things like that. And I okay, whatever. It's part of being a new guy. Okay, that's fine. But at the same time, that just crushes anything you have of wanting to be positive and wanting to do good things. I feel like right out of the gate, you're basically told something like that. It's like, okay, well, I'll be quiet and I'll be over here washing dishes until you tell me that you need something else. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I'm glad to see a little bit of that change. And like I said, I'm the first to say, when we get somebody new, that I fully expect you to earn your spot. And that is something that I will not give on you. You need to earn being here, but you are one of us, and you do have, like you keep saying, you have a role in this crew. And I want to bring you up to and even past the expectations that you even have for yourself. And so that's yeah, I'm everything you're saying is exactly kind of what I'm feeling. And I enjoy hearing somebody else talk about it, especially somebody that is living it, in a big time role. So my next question, I think, is, so if you have some guys that you're working with that should be that senior firefighter, that should be stepping up in big ways and really pushing the people below him to become better, but they just don't have that passion. What do you have any ideas of what we can do to kind of rekindle that passion in these people?
Uh, well, that's a difficult one.
Yeah.
Partly because I'm not in that situation too often.
Yeah.
Well, as a firefighter, or as from my standpoint, my first, you try to talk to the individual, and whenever you lose passion, you look at any myriad of possibilities of what's going on. This job is, it's tough on your psyche, right? And I think oftentimes when we look at, we're talking to someone who's senior, so, let's go 20 plus years, maybe. Over the years, the realities of the job can be what's zapping their passion, right? And maybe they're out of shape, maybe they have, maybe struggling with depression, anxiety, maybe the sleep deprivation has caught up with them. There's any number of things that can be challenging them. So, what I look to is trying to motivate them to be motivated about themselves first, right? Trying to help them take care of themselves, take care of their bodies, take care of their minds, first. And I think when that happens, that can have a shift. Another strategy that I use is just asking why, right? Why am I here?
Yeah.
What am I doing here? And
Yeah.
if you keep asking that question, eventually you're going to boil it down past the paycheck, and you're going to boil it down to really, why you ended up getting the job in the first place. And I think that's another piece. Another piece too is these salty guys, and they're just angry, and they're in the firehouse, and they're just bitter about everything, and F this, F that, fuck this. And, we have a saying in Oakland that a firefighter can mess up a wet dream. It's just, we can make anything sound miserable. Right.
Yeah.
But with that, trying to regather my train of thought here. Just lost it, but it'll come back to me. But you know what, my point is that there's this culture of negativity that's bred into our fire service, and we have to try to attack that. And you know, one of the things is, you ask these new guys. I mean, old guys. Look at the new kid. They're excited to put on their boots. I mean, do you remember that? And they can say, yeah, I remember that. And it comes back to them. And it's a struggle. You know, I'm not saying that it works for every single person. I'm not saying that it is there. But you got to try. And I think trying to remind them of when they were new and they were excited and that passion, and trying to also have them understand that taking care of their bodies is going to help, play a role in their ability to show up for themselves. And then the last piece is, all the shit they bitch about, all the shit they complain about. You ask them, like, what department do you want to see? All these things you complain about, you're talking about things that you want to see change. Yeah. Right. So then what you need to do is not complain. You need to train these new people to hopefully create the department that you want. Right. Yeah. And that's the idea. It's like, you have all, you know what you don't like. So then figure out what you need to do to teach that person who's newer to not end up in that department, right? To really change that department. So those are kind of some of my strategies.
Yeah, definitely kind of the leave it better than you found it kind of mindset.
Absolutely.
It's great.
But also taking those complaints, right? Those complaints are the things that you're not happy with, right? So know that you already intrinsically know what's bothering you, right? Mm-hmm. So just turn that positive, turn it from another light, saying, if the fact that, admin can't purchase rigs for us and we're driving around on rigs that are falling apart, if that's bothering you, then figure out how to get involved with the apparatus committee, figure out how to, get better rigs, figure out how to maybe go to city council and start pushing the union to push for in the public eye to get more rigs. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely the key there, and that's huge, just that conversation is probably several podcasts worth of conversation, is action. It's easy for any of us to fall into a rut of griping about anything. That's literally where I am fighting out of myself right now, is just disgruntled irritation, and even point at times anger at where I feel we're headed right now. And it's easy to be that way. Anybody can be that way at any time.
Yeah.
What is hard is taking that irritation, taking those things that you're angry and upset about, and coming up with solutions. And what's even harder than that is taking it a step further and doing something about it. And that makes the difference between a person or even a crew or even a department that is stuck in a terrible morale, terrible, just attitude, anything, and a department that, it has low times, but it uses those low times to raise itself and keep going to better levels. And without actions, nothing, it doesn't matter. You can sit there and gripe all day long, but if you don't have any solutions, and if you definitely don't want to involve yourself in making it better, I don't want to hear it. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at, is I'm tired of being the person that gripes and not being the person that does something about it. And I'm definitely tired of, others that are doing the same. So that's kind of a growing point where I feel like I'm probably at right now, is just finding the action to fix that.
Absolutely. There's any number of things that you can try to whack at in fire departments. So I think just trying to focus and pick a few is kind of the key. One of the things that I think we do well in our department, we say, hey, look, there's 1,000 things that this department needs. And yes, we are aware that our admin doesn't do a great job and they're overworked and understaffed, so they're just trying to put out, without pun intended, they're trying to put out the big fires. Right.
Yeah.
So there's so many things you can get involved in. Find something, get involved in, give a little back to the department. And that's kind of the message that I think people from my generation on have been preaching. My dad's generation was a little bit more like, fuck admin, fuck those guys, we're not doing shit for them. And it kind of drove our department a little bit, to a bad place. So I think my generation has seen that, and they're kind of they're preaching overall, find something, get involved in it. And over the time, you see, again, not everyone, but there's enough of us, and that ends up changing the direction.
Starting a movement.
Yeah, for sure. One of the hard things that you mentioned to me, you're feeling disgruntled, and I think one of the hard things with firefighters, and really what I've been trying to take, I took the fitness stuff on. I saw that as a huge just deficit in our department. So I got involved that early and stayed with that. But now, I'm really trying to focus on some of the mental health side of it. I think there's a lot of pieces there that we just don't know. It becomes very insidious, and we just don't see it coming. Our exposure is, if you look at like a military veteran, it's very intense for a very short period of time. It's a little more glaring, right? Ours is over a 30-year career, so it's very slow. It's a slow trickle. So you can turn around one day and realize, wow, I'm bitter and angry, and how did that happen?
Yeah.
And like, you don't even realize it. And some of the guys don't realize it. And that's the thing too, is because it's very slow. In our job, we're taught, and we have to detach from these emotional situations, right? We have to separate ourselves from these situations 100% in order to function. And so that's a very vital piece of our job. And on top of that, we have to then also look at a situation and perceive what the worst possible outcome could be, and to avoid that and to be aware of that. So we're training our minds and our bodies and our psyches to not only detach from emotions, but also to focus on the worst case scenario. And our bodies and minds, they don't stop doing that when we hang up our helmets or turn out and go home, right? They keep doing that. And over the course of time, we see that play out in our family lives and on our firehouses, right? We're constantly looking for the negative. We're constantly searching for what could go wrong. And we are emotionally detached from what's going on. And I think just even illuminating that aspect, there's been a lot of people that I've talked to, they've been like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that, and it's starting that dialogue, and that in itself can bring back the passion. Oh, you know what? That might be what's going on. So I think, it all goes hand in hand, but I believe most of us get into this job because we want to do good things, and we want to be that person that the community calls on when in need. And so just really trying to bring people back that space is I think, how you get that passion right back.
And something kind of leading into that, and I was going to bring it up anyway, because you mentioned that question earlier is why are we here? And I feel like something that's just kind of come to light to me just in the past probably couple months that's really a big question. And that's a question that we all need to ask ourselves over and over again. Because
absolutely,
the way when you're brand new, I guarantee you, if you asked 1,000 new firefighters why you want to be a firefighter, the answer is going to be because I want to help people. That's just what we say. That's what I said. That's what we say. And and I'm not saying that's not true. It is true. But I feel like if that's all we have, if that's all we lean on 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, when we're going on these same medical calls to the same houses that we know these people are not hurt, and all this over and over again. We went last night, we went on 2 gas odor calls in the middle of the night. One of them was literally a gasoline can in the middle of a garage that somebody smelled gas in their house. It's like, you got a gas can in your garage. That's what it is. And it was like, that's what we woke up to go, where I'm going is, if we don't expand that just to help people, you're going to get jaded. You're going to lose that,
Absolutely.
because that does not, that it just doesn't cut it completely. You got
Right.
to go deeper than that.
Right.
You go ahead.
Yeah, when you keep asking that why, to me, what I come to, and I see people that are disgruntled about the regulars, and I'm not saying I don't get there sometimes, because Lord knows
Oh,
that
yeah.
stomach ache 4 after midnight, you're just like, you fucking kidding me again. But and it's a practice for me too. But I ask people, like, even new kids, hey, what do you think we're doing here? And they're like, well, we're helping this person. Right. Okay. So this is the regular, they're regular already. You've been on here for a year and you've been on them, every shift. So
Yeah.
that, right. And really, what I see is you ask that question, why, and you pull back, and we give hope to the community. We're the only entity they call that doesn't charge, that doesn't care, who comes and helps them. So even if we're not technically helping that person and they're still calling us, they're still calling us. They're still believing that we can help them. And everyone sees that. Everyone else in the community who sees our signs, who sees our rig pull up, they see that. They believe in us, right? And that's, especially in this day and age where the safety nets are being pulled away, and if it seems like families are, closer and closer to one paycheck away from disaster, and just the margins of life seem to be shrinking. And when people feel like I can pick this phone up and call, and people are going to come, they're going to help me, and they're going to make things better, and that's all they do. I mean, that little piece is a huge piece to society in general. And I think, again, like when we pull back, yeah, it's a regular, and that individual's going to call us again tomorrow. You're 100% right. And, and nothing we're going to do is going to fix that, maybe that individual, but in a bigger, pull back picture, it does make a difference. And I think that's you get to when you keep asking why.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Just, if you don't have that kind of the groundedness to think, I'm not only here to, yes, run to Miss Johnson that calls us every Friday night because she's lonely, but I'm also here because Jim here, my senior firefighter who's dealing with some stuff at home, he needs us, and we make a difference in his life. And John, the new guy that just came on, he needs us to tell him how to become a real firefighter, and how to make it through 20 more years. And there's just so many pieces and layers and just levels of good that we can do. And I just really
Absolutely.
think that we need to kind of bring the focus away from just, and I hope it don't sound bad when I'm saying, I'm not saying that we're not here to help people. I just want to focus on, there's a lot more to it
Absolutely.
than that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of the mindset that I've kind of starting to develop with that.
And let's be honest, man, a lot of us get a job because we want to fight fires too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'll
Oh
be the
yeah.
first person to say that. I'm not happy with someone's house burned, but if they do, I want to be the one there, right?
That's what we
And
do.
so,
That's
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
we kind of want to be in the shit, right?
Yeah.
Test your muster, right? And so that's another piece of it too. And sometimes I tell people, hey, look, if that's you, that's your heart and soul. This is the price you got to pay for those few opportunities that come up, right? Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the ticket you punch. Think of it like a person training for the Olympics. You train for 4 fucking years to get one shot,
Yeah.
right? And every minute you train will determine how you do in that one shot. So every call you
Yeah.
go on is going to determine how you do in that one time when they call you. There's a bunch of different ways you can help someone find that why, right? And to your point, is the why is individual, it's department wide, it's crew wide, and each layer has its own why, and keep asking that and keep finding that and keep doing that is a huge piece.
How do you, you mentioned just briefly that you've kind of found yourself in some lower spots. How do you kind of keep that drive alive? What pushes you to keep going, to to want to do better, to want to help that newer person, all that? What keeps you going?
You know, really the new kids, new kids give me as much as they can be annoying sometimes, in a good way.
Yeah.
It keeps that's what keeps me from hitting too low. I especially down at the drill tower when I'm down there, and we start PT at about 6:15 in the morning, and depending on the time of year, it can be dark, it can be rainy, and they're all lined up, excited, ready to go. And I
Yeah.
see that, and I'm like, man, like, we don't pay them shit in the drill tower. We pay like damn near minimum wage too. These people are showing up for minimum wage, in the rain for a dream that they've had their whole life, and that just,
Yeah.
it breathes life into me. It really does. And I think that's what I found to keep myself. And then, if for other times when I'm feeling kind of like, man, I'm in a dark spot, or I'm just getting too bitter, too salty, or it's not the person I want to be, it's time to pull back and kind of take a self-assessment and see what's going on.
Yeah.
I think it's always a symptom of a bigger, uh, or bigger, or something else going on in your life. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when you're able to pull back and kind of take a minute to look at that, generally you can find what's going on, or find something to start
Yeah.
attacking, and that ends up leading to something else, and leads into something else, and then eventually you find your way again.
Yeah.
And I think that's what leadership, leadership is really, from my vantage point, is I'm trying to give people the tools to go where they want to go. Right. You're in the fire service. I mean, your dream may not be my dream.
Yeah.
Your dream maybe to promote right away, which has its place, right? But doing that, you're going to have, the more I can teach you about the job of firefighting versus being an officer, the better officer you're going to be.
Yeah.
And so, just trying to help people find their own why and their own way, and keep coming back to their own light.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. I've got some people that don't ever want to promote. I've got some people that want to promote as soon as they can. Like you said, I personally don't care. I'm not going to talk anybody into either way. You tell me what you want, and I will do my best to get you to that point. But what my expectations are that wherever you're at, whatever you're wanting to achieve as far as rank and all that, I want you to be the best person, best firefighter, best driver, officer, whatever it is that you can be. That's what I want. I want to see you reach levels that you may not even think you can reach yourself, because
Yeah.
that's why we're here, is to get better, to make each other better, to be able to do this job when we're asked to do it the best we can. And that's really my expectations, is to really do everything you can to achieve your max. That's all I
Yeah.
ask.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think, as to be an effective leader, that individual has to see some aspect of that in you, right? Like you're not going to follow someone that you don't believe is going to push you to a better place,
Yeah.
right? And so you don't have to embody all that, but you definitely have to embody some of that to be able to have people follow you. And I think so. That's
Yeah.
a piece, in that too, is always trying to. It motivates me when I'm in a dark spot or I'm being bitter. I'm like, man, if I don't want new guys to be bitter, if I'm bitter, it doesn't, it's not gonna go well for them, right? They're gonna see that, and they're gonna emulate that, because whether you like it or not, you're always leading by example. You
Oh yeah.
always are. So you got to be cautious of what example you're putting out there. So that helps me too. When I'm in that dark spot and being like bitter, angry, I see myself getting a little bit too crusty. Pull back. That's not what I want these new guys to become. So let me, again, back to, what do you want your department to be?
Yep.
I don't want my department to be that. So I better not be
Yep.
that myself. It's calling yourself out a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
You get
Oh,
honest with yourself,
absolutely.
and yeah.
And kind of playing off of that, I think, and I'm lucky enough to have a few people on my crew to do this, but it is very helpful to have some people to be there if you need to be checked. Like I said, I'm a captain, but I have a firefighter that has several times kind of said, "Hey, I see this going on, man, calm down, or do this or that," kind of put me in check, even though he has no say so in, any kind of rank or formal structure, but he cares enough about me and about our crew that he can sit there and be honest enough to say, "Hey, it's time to straighten it up." And that's huge to me too, is somebody that's not afraid to put anybody in check. And that's a
That's the
big deal.
informal leader. That's
Yep.
that's a place for that informal leadership is they're the ones who talk up,
Yeah.
and are able to do that.
So just a couple of questions that, when I've had some people on, just like to ask. I guess the first one is, what do you want to teach others?
What do I want to teach others? In general or in the fire service?
Just general is fine. I can go general.
I think in general, we as individuals are our own answer, and we can be our own teachers. I think in a lot of ways, we've forgotten the power that we have as individuals. We've minimalized everything down to the science, and we've lost a lot of the soul and passion from a lot of things. Not saying you don't need teachers, not saying that you shouldn't go out and find teachers, but just believe in ourselves and our own abilities, and you can find a lot of things there. And the second thing probably people are constantly learning. We are constantly learning. Our bodies and minds are primed to learn, and so just be very cautious of what you're doing, because no matter what you're doing, you're learning.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, it's very easy to be quote unquote tuning out, even though you're not really tuning out, and just be lost in the monotony and in social media and whatever else you're lost in, and that ends up teaching you, and you turn around and you have no idea who you are or where you are because you took no ownership of that learning. Those are probably the two biggest things.
I like that last one, especially, that's something that definitely when you have kids, you said that you have kids as well, and that's something to really kind of transfer to them as you are what you intake, basically. You let it into your mind and into your spirit, then that's what's going to be coming out. And so that's a big deal to me too.
100%.
So the next one is, I guess, basically kind of, what do you have anything that stands out as far as just lessons you've learned? We'll kind of gear this one towards the fire service, and things that you've learned that you want to help others to learn from.
I think in the fire service in general, you just have to become a student of the game. Learn as much as you can. Don't get caught up on having to do something a certain way. Just have a bunch of different options and apply the best option in the fire service. Every department's different. You have to work within your own department. There might be a move that's great, but unfortunately, if not everyone's on the same page, it's not going to work, right? You got to bring that new stuff up, not on scene, not during a call, but on training, so everyone's on the same page. What else is the fire service? I think at the end of the day, just realizing that this whole thing's a wheel, and to admin in the city, we're just a piece of the wheel. We're not anything special. We're only special to the people that we work with. And I think really taking time to invest, like you said, your crew first culture, take time to invest with the people that you work with, because when all said and done, those are the people that really matter. And we talk to retirees, people that have, again, retired and done with the job. They always tell you the best part is sitting around the kitchen table with the guys. I miss the guys. I miss hanging out with the guys.
Yeah.
I think really understanding that piece. And I think if you can understand that piece, a lot of the stuff we talked about earlier in the podcast will fall into place. Because you'll understand that, hey man, this is who I need to invest in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree. That's kind of, you know, the underlying issue of we are there for each other, and man, there's so much going on in life. You know, we kind of touched on our irritations or whatever that manifests at the department, but that is such a small piece of life. You know, you've got men and women that are dealing with some of the hardest things that they have ever dealt with in their entire life at home, and then they have to, you know, quote, check that stuff at the door and come to work at the station and deal with this stuff at the station. And it's just, it's big.
It's
And
big.
if those people don't have somebody that truly care about them, at least at work, you know, it's hard to live through that. And so, yes, just finding a way to help and care for the people you work with. That's one of the main reasons we talked about, you know, why are you a firefighter? That is one of the main reasons I want to be a firefighter today, is that I want to do something to help the people I work with make it through life and do better than they were yesterday. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Couldn't say it better. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, man. I really appreciate your time. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that you want to kind of touch on or bring up, or?
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff, but you know, yeah, I don't know how much time we
Save for
have.
another
So
time.
yeah, man. I would love
No,
to dive into more topics.
oh yeah, I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
there's definitely, and I know there's more aspects of your life that you want to really get out there. You know, you're huge on diet and really. So I've seen a lot of yoga clips. Is
Yeah.
that something? Yeah, so big on
Yeah.
yoga, which
I think yoga is in, you know, it's a whole nother topic, but just to briefly
yeah,
dive into it, you know,
yeah, go ahead.
it's you know, I have these 4 pillars of life that I talk about, and yoga really, I think, speaks to all of them. You know, you just have to develop that connection between the mind and body. And it's really about finding comfort and using the breath to center the body. And there is, in my mind, you're talking about firefighting, there is no other piece that's more important than our breath and our management of how we breathe. I mean, who cares how in shape you are? If you blow through a bottle, you blow through a bottle. You know, it's
Yeah,
I've seen guys who are animals working out and they burn through a half-hour bottle in 10 minutes.
yeah,
You know, what good are you? While me and this guy who smokes cigarettes is taking 20 minutes to go through his bottle.
yeah,
He's worked double what you did. So I think, you know, yoga's, you know, it has that piece to it. It has, you know, it can be, you know, it has every aspect of control and balance and strength and motion and ranges of motion. And, you know, I think a lot of people forget too that yoga really was designed as an adjunct for the warrior class. And this was one of the original ways that warriors trained. And it's only in our culture, in our Western culture, in modern day Western culture, that we've separated the mind and body from the warrior. And the warrior is seen as this like impenetrable rock. But, you know, for eons, the warrior was understood to be as much important to develop the mind and soul and the intellect as the body. And so I think yoga really speaks to that aspect of it. So that in general, in a nutshell, without going too far down that rabbit hole, yeah, for sure, that's a big piece.
Well, I will speak a little bit on that. Is, you know, I've got some pretty serious back injuries, and I will say that yoga has, you know, I don't, to be honest, I don't do a lot of it recently and in the, you know, recent past, but it has definitely helped me to kind of overcome that obstacle and get my back into a position that I can actually work again. But it's just funny because anybody that doesn't know anything about yoga, anybody that hasn't done yoga, especially men, I think there's just a kind of a mindset of, man, that looks stupid, and that there's no way that is very hard. And then you do it and it's like, holy crap, that's free. It will wear you out. It's amazing how much it'll wear you out.
100%. I got a couple
Yeah.
yoga flows I posted on YouTube just for free from our department when this whole Corona started. And I had so many guys text me like, oh my God, my arms are spent, man. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm gassed. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's the whole mind component of it
It's
too.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We could
Well,
wrap out the back too, man. A whole other time. I got all kinds of, so part of the PT that I do with the recruits is it's 100% different than most towers you come into. Like, we don't start doing push-ups to your eyes bleed right away at all.
yeah. Yeah.
We do a huge component of prehab, which is all the, exercises to, the strengthen the body parts that firefighters break: knees, backs, shoulders, mostly. And, it's all the PT exercises, all the rehab exercises, when we do them ahead of time. And I start off teaching the recruits like, hey, this is the shit that you need to be doing. It's, the CrossFit stuff is great, but that's not the end all and be all. And that's not what's going to give you longevity in this career.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to get them to understand that, this is what you need to be incorporating every day. Because every day, and then you won't get injured, and you won't have to go down that road, hopefully. But yeah,
I will definitely kind of have to hook up with you and get some of that going, because that's a scary deal. As somebody
it's
that
terrifying.
has been through, I am, not to go into it too far, but I'm looking at, my only solution is fusion. So if I can't keep myself maintained, that's what I'm looking at. So that's obviously not something I'm interested in. So yeah, I definitely, anybody out there that isn't doing some type of, what you're talking about and keeping themselves maintained, they really need to look into it. So I want to kind of challenge everybody out there. I'm sure you would love to discuss any of this with anybody out there. So anybody out there that is interested in kind of digging deeper into these topics and really reaching out to learn some stuff, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can get a hold of you.
I'm on Live, Serve, Thrive, and that's either Facebook, Instagram, or online. It's easy to find me. It's across all the platforms, or on YouTube, Live, Serve, Thrive as well. So it's easy. Just you can hit me up. I'm not on Facebook a ton, so Instagram's probably better, or through the website, you can email me. It's probably the best ways.
Cool, man. I really appreciate your time, and I've enjoyed the conversation. I definitely,
for sure,
we'll get you back on and get into the more maybe mental, just that type of stuff, because I could tell you're passionate about that as well.
Yeah,
and I think it's a big piece of life and of the fire service as well, and should be even probably more. So
yeah, 100%.
Again, check Aaron out on his Instagram, Facebook pages. Reach out to him if you're interested in what he has to say. And I appreciate your time again.
Yeah.
And look forward to next time.
Absolutely.
Until then, stay safe and take care of each other.
Yeah, man.
See you next time.